Good morning, Ms. Chan Yilin, Director of Wealth Management Institute and also a Shireen Foster Board member. Mr. Gerard E., Executive Director of Beyond Social Services, and distinguished guests. My name is Anne. I was last year Shireen Foster Scholar, and now I'm a Year 2 student from SMU Lee Kong Chan School of Business, and I will be your MC for today. The Shireen Foster Conference consists of a series of conferences designed to bring women from all around the globe to discuss issues concerning to women in varying fields. And today we will learn how a non-government community organization like Beyond Social Services attempts to nurture relationships between the young and the old people in our neighborhood, with a view that the friendships between the younger and the older people can mutually broaden perspectives and facilitate compassion, empathy, and a better quality of life. So now, let me invite Ms. Chan Yilin for the opening remarks. Let's give her a warm round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us this wet morning. I'm afraid Claire, who was supposed to moderate and speak today, is unable to join us. And so I'm standing in for her. So I just wanted to give you you've seen the video. So for those of you who are new to the Shireen Foster program, that hopefully will give you a good idea of what we are here for. Yeah. Basically, I think just to reiterate, it is, our mission. We have two missions. One is to foster a resilient community. Yeah, a community of people all around, from different walks of life and different age groups and different genders, different occupations, etc. Secondly, we want to actually raise the awareness of the importance of having integrated perspectives on women's development. Meaning, what does that mean? Integrated perspective on women's development. We want for people to understand that it's important to know and appreciate that women do have different needs, and that difference needs to be integrated into national and community policies and programs so that both men and women can reach their fullest potential, right? Because women make up half the population, and we all need to work together as a community. So that's what this program aims to do. We have that platform to bring people together, to open people's minds to different perspectives that you may never have even thought of before. And that's why I'm so happy to see so many of you here to learn about different perspectives, to broaden your mind, and so that you can be more impactful yourself in your lives, in your jobs, in your homes. Yeah. And what we'd like to do for the Conference on the Move, as you can see, for 7 years, instead of sitting in a lecture theatre somewhere, listening to speakers, yes, you're listening to us for a little while, but then we actually bring the conference into the space and community that we are looking at. And we actually have a hands-on engagement with the topic that we're discussing. And so we will get to see what we're talking about. And we're very pleased to have Mr. Gerard E. share with us his experience of spearheading this wonderful community effort. So again, the whole idea of collective collaboration, collective community projects, all right? And okay, so what we would like to do is, so this year, our theme for Shireen Foster program is to focus on aging and wellness. So in April and June this year, which is just a couple months ago, twice we visited the wellness kampong. Are any of you here who managed to join us for that visit? I know Priyanka was there. Yeah, it was a really very good visit, and we saw actually how that kampong wellness served as a connector and catalyst in that community. And basically, what it is it's like a kampong that was created to provide support and self-management in an ecosystem to help the people live their better lives, better, higher quality lives, right? Basically, the whole idea of the kampong spirit of self-support and self-reliance. Okay, and so in that 2 visits, we actually brought together various partners such as Temasek Foundation, Rotary Club, Ministry of Health, the SMU Centre of Research for Economics of Aging, and the Finnish Embassy. They all came together to, and these are policy makers. We want to get policymakers and fundraisers together to see what we can do collectively to improve the community. Okay, so looking forward, besides today's one, we have to look forward, right? So our next conference on the move is on the 14th of September at the Republic Polytechnic, and that will focus on nutrition, wellness and health. So please block your calendars, all right, for that date, 14th September. We will cover topics on wellness and health from a personal and community perspective. We're going to break some nutritional myths, okay? Those of you who have some myths in your minds, let's break those. And then come and learn about health and financial preparedness, which leads to well-being. If we don't have financial preparedness, we also won't be very healthy. I mean, you can be healthy, but if you have no money, you also have not very well, right? Okay, and we will also learn about the health findings of women in the 50 to 70th age group in Singapore from the SMU Centre of Research on the Economics of Aging. Okay, they're going to present us some findings there. The other date to watch out for is 29th of September. We're going to have the Shireen Foster Roundtable on Aging in Singapore, the next steps. All right, so at this roundtable, we're going to bring together public and private sector health professionals. Okay, so some of the public sector will be MOH, of course, AIC, Alexandra Health System, Sengkang Health, and then from the private sector we will have Aging Asia, technology-related firms from the Finnish Embassy. All right, so we're going to discuss key challenges of aging in Singapore and what can be done collaboratively together, private and public. You've heard a lot about the private-public partnership, the PPP. That's the new thing, right? All right, so we need to work together to do that. Okay, so moving on today to today's conference on the move. In Bukit Ho Swee today, as we are, I'm not going to steal Mr. Gerard E's thunder, but basically there are twice as many youth here as there are elderly, okay? So in terms of elderly, there are 20% of elderly, meaning those above 55. I'm very close to that. I don't feel elderly at all. But that is the definition, okay? And 40% are youth, meaning below 25 years old. But the two groups, unfortunately, are not meaningfully engaging themselves. And even before this conference, we were talking among ourselves, even in our own family, you have children and parents, and there's a generation gap, right? We have different lifestyles, different interests, different noise tolerance levels we were talking about, all right? But again, let's talk about how, and Mr. Gerard E will talk about how friendships, as taken from a quote from Anna Kudak, the author of What Happy Women Do. She said, friendships with older and younger people help broaden your perspective, which in turn allows you to have compassion and empathy in your day-to-day life. So let's put our hands together and welcome Gerard E to talk about how we can have more compassion and empathy in our life.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming, and thank you for the privilege. If you are visiting for the first time, perhaps you may be interested to know that this was Singapore's very first void deck space. I think previously it was a maternity clinic. That's why the name of the road is Jalan Clinic. And when they stopped having the clinic, they broke down the walls, and it was Singapore's very first void deck. So, if anything, this is it's a place of historical significance, at least from Singapore point of view. Before coming, I suppose you read my small little bio, and for many years I've often used the same bio, and I often say that social work is not so much about attending to people, not so much about caring for people, but it's really about peacemaking. Well, I put it on my bio. I've never really talked to people about this, why I write it that way, and today is the first time I thought I'd elaborate a little bit. The reason I want to elaborate, perhaps in this day, we are living in a time where conflict is very visible. Even on social media, the way people talk, it can be a little bit abrasive. things that are happening in the world. I mean, every day you hear about something that's not so quite unfortunate, and I guess even locally, I mean, well, I don't know, locally even prominent people start to have public disagreements. So maybe in this context, I thought that it's apt to emphasize a little bit what I mean by being a peacemaker. I think being a peacemaker starts with having perspective. And as what Eileen has said earlier, this whole conference is about perspective, about shifting perspectives, about appreciating other perspectives. And perspectives are key and for peace, and having a peaceful perspective is actually the way to go towards having peace. Now let me elaborate a little bit. This morning I was buying coffee for my colleagues. You see, I only get to talk to you, but my colleagues have to prepare everything. So I thought the decent thing to do was at least go and get them coffee while I get to sit in my office and rest before I come and talk to you. So I was standing in a coffee shop buying coffee, and the counter was just here. And I'm waiting anxiously for the coffee, right? In paper bag, in plastic bags and all. And then an old man came. All right, let me correct. And a man that was slightly older than I was, he came by and he hit me on the shoulder and said, "Whoa, that split second." No, he came, he said, "Whoa, that split second, I could have like, what you doing? I know, I'm standing here trying to get coffee." But okay, I just smiled at him and I stepped aside a little bit, and he walked a few seconds later. A few seconds later, for the first time I noticed, next to the counter, there was an altar of a Chinese deity. Or maybe there were 3 statues. I can't recognize what deity they were. But what he did was something extremely beautiful, or I would even say beautiful. He went there, he shuffled there, he took the chopsticks, he lit them up. I was just watching, and he started having a little prayer, perhaps what we'll say an early morning prayer. So it would have been extremely ironical, right, if that one moment that he came, and I got angry with him, and we got into a fight, and he would have said, all I wanted to do was to pray for peace. And I met this man, and he started a war. So why am I sharing this story, right? Because I think the coffee shop is a good metaphor for the densely populated neighbourhood that we live in. Yeah, there were many people in the coffee shop. I was there trying to get my coffee. There was this space, about here. He could have walked, but maybe as an older person, he felt that needed a bit more space. So he brushed me aside and said, walk, or actually. And he went there and he did his morning prayer. Why would anyone pray except that you are a man of peace? That he would want to go and pray, but then it is maybe someone like me. If I couldn't hold the peace, or if I was just a little bit too quick, then it wouldn't have been a very peaceful morning for him or for me. And probably not for the coffee shop as well, because these days people take up handphone and watch the fight. So densely populated, I come back to this point. In our neighborhood, these are not official stats, but these are our stats, because we knock on every door and we compile the stats. And what we have discovered is there are twice as many young people than there are old people. Right? And young people, when they live very closely to old people, it's a potential source of conflict. And you don't wait for conflict to happen before you step in. What we were trying to do was to try to let them know and raise awareness that because of this potential conflict, there's even more important that we proactively build some friendship. And the Shireen Foster program actually was a bit of an impetus for us to do this. Although this was brewing at the back of our mind when the resources came from the Shireen Foster program, and in a way you guys challenge us, right? You say perspective, and we are like, yeah, okay, we better do something. So anyway, Anyway, so when Julie or whoever came and talked to us, and we said, yeah, okay, what really is perspective? And we decided to look at it a little bit more literally. Perspective is a lens, and a lens is a camera. And we are thinking that maybe with a camera, we can capture perspectives. It's very difficult, right? You sit with old people, you ask, or you sit with anyone for that matter, and you say, what are you thinking? What are you seeing? And they just don't have the words. Even if they have the words, the way we understand the words could be so completely different. So we figured that, yeah, let's why guess? Or why try to decipher? Let them shoot a picture, and maybe the picture, like you say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So why go try and listen to words when they can shoot a picture? And that's exactly what we did. We took it very literally when we talk about perspective. Let's take a camera. So here are some pictures. You see, the cameras that we took was a disposable camera. We wanted people to use a disposable camera, not because we were so old school and didn't catch up with technology, but I think there's a difference. When we use a handphone these days and digital, we snap something and we snap so many things, and then we forget what we snap because it's so easy to snap. But we tell the guy, look, this is $15, right? One photograph is going to cost how much? Look, have a little bit more mindfulness before you snap and know what you want to snap. So actually we're slowing down the thinking a little bit to be a bit more mindful. What is it I'm going to take? Because every snap costs money. These days, you just snap anything, it doesn't cost anything, right? So that's why we use a disposable camera, to slow them down, to stop, pause, and to have them to think a little bit. And of course, it wasn't just the young that we gave the camera to, we gave the camera to an older person. And of course, there are all sorts of complaints when you give them the camera, they say, I can't see, it's too small, But these are all lovely opportunities to create interaction. So that's what they saw when we put them together. They saw the neighbourhood, which was, later you have a glimpse of this as we walk down. And this is another picture how they saw the neighbourhood. This was an important thing for them. The birds that they kept was something important. I mean, it's not something that I would never imagine starting a conversation about their birds. But because of this picture, I would try to appreciate a little bit why in a roll of 36 pictures, 1 out of 36 has to be about this bird cage. It's not... All right, and they saw this, which I thought it was quite nice. They saw a man, and they snapped this. So they were probably quite proud of that mural there, and this is how they saw their neighborhood. Yeah, and this was very important. The cats in the neighborhood are important residents and important citizens of our country. Full stop. Okay, so this is how they saw each other. The elderly saw the young people like that. And the young people saw the elderly like that. It was quite telling because if I didn't know this, I would have imagined that they were trapped in their houses. And maybe they were, right? So, but this is how the young people saw them. And the elderly person saw the young boy like that. And the young boy saw the elderly person like that, yeah. It's how they saw themselves together. I think it's not just seeing how each other, I think that the whole project was about bringing people together. Yeah, and of course, this is the most current way people come together. This was a disposable camera, and I think I like the expression of the old person. What's this? What you're doing? What you're looking at? And it's a Wi-Fi, but nobody knows that, right? I mean, even for a young person, it's very strange. Why am I looking at the camera and why is nobody looking at me snapping a camera? Well, the world has changed. We used to stand up very straight and wait for the flash bulb to go boom. But these days, you put up a camera and you shoot yourself. It does say something. I'm not sure what it actually says, but it's something worth thinking about. Yeah. So why we did this, again, We want to build communities where neighbors are able to look out for each other. And in this sense, we resonate deeply with the mission of the Serene Foster program or the Conference on the Move, where we're trying to build resilient communities. Resilience is a resilient community or resilient neighborhood is not a place without no problems. It is not. Sometimes we talk about resilience as though we're a resilient country, we're a happy country because we have no problems. Actually, not having problems sometimes makes us very weak. Or actually sometimes keeping problems by managing problems by having very strong laws or strong fences actually makes us very weak. As people, we are weak. We just have very strong institutions. We have very strong structures that keep us that keep us from fighting with one another. But actually, resilience is not the absence of problems. Resilience is the ability to deal with problems. And this we often forget. We often forget. So very often when we talk about resilience, we say, oh, okay, this is the way to go about it. We over-organize or we organize something. We organize our problems away and we say we're a resilient country. Not really, because the moment somebody breaks through the fence, yeah, we don't know how we are going to react. And that would be the real acid test of whether we are resilient, whether we can deal with problems. So right now, we're listening to a lot of perspectives, but perspectives of people who are isolated. So young people, when you initially at the beginning of the year, when we ask them, what do you think of your neighbor? They don't say, right? Well, they're very polite. They don't open their mouth. They just do this, right? A little bit off. And then for the young people, for the old people, when you ask them, what do you think of the old young people? I take deep breath and say, oh, very dangerous. I cannot walk. I walk there, the ball will hit me, and things like that. They see the young people as a threat. And the young people see the old people as they shouldn't belong here. They're just crazy. They should be somewhere else. Why are they in our neighborhood? And it's back to my story this morning. It's terribly intimidating for a young person, for an old person actually. Imagine if I live here, twice as many people are young, they're running around, kicking a ball, doing everything, and I'm here, standing here, how do I get from here to there? I'm being crowded out. So it's the same metaphor in the coffee shop. Maybe he saw me as a younger person. I was crowding out. I was literally crowding out his space, and he had to push me away and say, look, I got to get to the altar. Now, often the intention is a good intention. The way we go about it is the cause of the problem. It's not the intention that's the cause of the problem. It's not people's goals. It's not people's intentions. It's how they go about achieving it. So if we want peace in the neighborhood, how we want to go about achieving it is through friendship. Friendship is through common ground, being able to establish some common ground. So that was a perspective of isolation that we're trying to bring together. And of course, there was an incident when the elderly people were going to call the police and get the kids and all. We said, okay, before it really gets out of control and we can't manage this anymore, we thought we had to step in. So this project came in very, very timely. Yeah. How we did it? Generally, we engage people. When we do a program, it has to be holistic. And one way we would like to describe holistic. How we did it? Of course, we had support, right? Yeah, I think we can just go on. The Serene Foster program. And then the local community is very important. We always need to have this for all social work programs to succeed. The people that are supposed to benefit from the programs must be active participants. Otherwise, there is no success at all. So in this sense, from the local community representing the elderly, you have Uncle Richard. He's actually here. You don't have to look at the photograph. Yeah, really good. And from the youth side, we had UC, and the helping agency that you are going to visit later is Tai Hui Kwan Moral Charity. So just you bring people together. Our job really is to hold a space where these people can create something good. Okay, so this work about peacemaking is about holding a peaceful space where people can create peace. Our country tends to isolate a lot of people and divide and rule and put everybody there. That seems to be very much how we have preferred to do things. So now trying to do it a different way can be quite challenging. I mean, the notion of coming together and trying to cooperate, trying to co-create. So we don't have local. And this UC. You look at UC, a young boy trying to do this. Actually, the old people love him. And we needed champions like that. We needed a champion like Uncle Richard for the old people. We needed a champion like UC for the young people. Because when his friends see him having a good time with the older people, they join him because they say, I want some of that as well. So there will always be champions within our community, and our role is to identify them and to see who they are. He has a good time, yeah. He's always, I don't know how he does it, but he managed to get the old people to do this. And yeah, they humor him, they agreed to do it. So that is the power of a kid. I don't think as a professional social worker, I say, can you all post like that? I think they'll look at me like, but for a child they wouldn't. For a child they would. And yeah, earlier on I was talking about what a holistic program would be. It has to be something that appeals to people's heads, hearts, and hands. Just let me elaborate. We have meetings in this room explaining the purpose of this program, why it is important. We try to get buy-in. So we explain that the program, the outcome, eventual output is a book. That's what we told them. We'll go home with a book that you can bring home. Of course, in their mind, they can't register, right? But later we will present it to them and they'll see the output. So it's meant to be a little bit of a surprise later when they get it. They haven't seen the book yet. Yeah. Do we have the book somewhere? Yeah, this is the book. Yeah. We took all the photos and we put it in the book. We collected the comments from the young people, old people. But later we're going to present it to them. So they don't know. We're going to remind them, right? We had this conversation few months ago. They probably don't know this, huh? And we told them it's just about a book, but it's also about neighbors getting to know each other and why it is important. And then we move on. And we had to listen to what are their challenges. So it was also an exercise in empathy. It starts with us listening to the young, listening to the old, and appreciating, not just listening and okay, thank you for your statement. You file it away somewhere. You have to listen in a way that actually they feel understood. And then sometimes it's also very difficult to bring everybody in the same room. They don't talk, so we have to talk to one side. Eventually we create common space and we become the spokesperson for both sides. This is the bridging role that we play between the young and old. Talk is cheap, right? So we have to get into action, and that's what we mean by hands. So we do a lot of photography sessions. We ask their opinions. What is it that you actually like? And to our surprise, the old people actually said, one thing we haven't done is to go on a duck tour, and we were like, what's that, right? But they seem to know what that is. And so we found out ourselves what it was, and we brought them on the duck tour, which was this amphibious World War II vehicle that could go on water and on land. So where was this? This was at that place, yeah. And it's this thing, and there was more interaction between the young and the old. And so at the end of the day, what we gained from it was common ground on their home ground. Okay, that's my presentation for today. These were the books that we produced. And what can I say? Thank you, Shireen Foster Program, for getting this done.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to the next highlight of today's conference, where all of you will get to visit the Senior Activity Center, where you can learn everything about what they do and how they engage the elderly in the neighborhood. Yeah, so I hope you have a good time there.
So I'm just going to moderate. I'm not the expert. The expert is Mr. Gerard E. here, who has shared with you, the amazing book, and you've seen the book that was given from the photographs. So anyone has any questions for the time being?
I just have a kind of question. The book is an excellent idea, but is it feasible or probable to have a video clip collection? Because there's a lot more you can see in a video.
Yeah.
So a collage or some collection of video clips would be interesting. You can publish it on YouTube and so on.
Yeah.
Is that feasible? Or?
Yeah. Well, we wanted the young people and the old people to have mastery of a task that they had to do. And we figured that the video camera, for a start, may be a little bit too complicated. So that's why we started with a camera. And I think there's also a difference. I know a lot of these days videos are key on social media, so everybody's talking about videos, right? Everybody watches videos. But if you really think about it, videos tell a story. There's a lot more space, and you require a certain lot more skill. Otherwise, you become quite a long, boring storyteller because it drags for a while. So we thought that a picture would be a good snapshot that forces somebody to say, what is it I want to say, and why do I think this picture will say it? So it's a difference. I'm not saying videos are bad or pictures are better or whatever, but I think there are different tools and different techniques that bring out different things, different emphasis. Could the arts professor agree? I do not know. So she's from LaSalle College of the Arts.
Well, not a professor.
Well, but you're definitely more of an expert than I am.
I think it's good to be aware of that because you're right. I think that very often the idea is good, but you do need to have an element of professionalism. And since you mentioned the arts, that's why sometimes certain projects would work with an arts professional who can give that expertise. So it is possible to do it, but it just involves different types of people, I think. And knowing that that is the outcome that you want to have an output of, which is a video that appeals to a certain target audience, and by working with a professional who understands how to do that, it is achievable.
Are you interested in video?
No, I see a lot of people doing video clips, short clips, about half a minute or 1 minute maximum.
We are looking for volunteers who can help us take clips. Maybe you should sign up as one and come and help us.
The key is to educate the community how to do the video clip.
Okay. Yes.
So what's next? How do you continue the integration?
Yeah, we give them that little book and that little certificate that says that actually, let's remember today is the start of a new friendship. So I think the elderly people were really thrilled to receive the book. We did tell them about the book, but I think they've forgotten about it or didn't think we were serious about it. So just now they were actually talking to Joanne and asking what's the next step. So I guess the friendship continues. We're going to get the young people and to meet them and go out and we have to present the book to the young people as well. So probably one session to talk about the book at breakfast. That will be the next step. Yeah.
It was not possible to arrange for both the young and the old people to get the book at the same time.
They were in school today. Today they were in school. It would have been nice to get the book at the same time.
But that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess this is a very good start, right? Because there's an end to it. There is, but what would be a sustainable program going forward? Would that be something that you would?
Well, we are in those neighborhoods for the long run, and we are in the neighborhoods to build peace. So sometimes day-to-day life presents a lot of opportunities to do this. I mean, there will be a lot of disagreements, little conflicts, and we're around.
For example, I saw that they have all kinds of activities on the other side as well, right? So the young people here could volunteer for those.
They could, right? They could.
That is one way to.
Yeah, they have a lot of activities.
They have a lot of cleaning activities, etc. Where I can imagine that young people, you need the youth, the energy, and the strength. Help clean.
What would y'all say to that, Joanne, Susie? I mean,
Actually, we were also encouraging them to continue to volunteer in beyond also, as in to be a youth volunteer and beyond. So actually, we are grooming this group of children or these younger youths to be a youth leader in the community. So in fact, we are also hoping that they can influence the other youths in the community to continue this volunteer spirit with the elderly also. So it's just not just with this small group, but also to extend it to the other youth and children. So we kind of see another way that we are grooming them also to be youth leaders. Yeah. So they are more active.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel that this gentleman's idea of the video can come in very well, because the youth like videos, right? So that's the story, but you do need to edit it,
Yes.
right?
Very much.
And then create a short message where then your ambassadors can go and show the others, see, I had so much fun, look at these great things.
Yeah.
And it sort of sells itself.
So it seems like the next logical step, pictures to moving pictures.
With the youngsters. Yeah.
That's to recruit the youngsters.
Yeah.
Also, it would have been actually interesting to hear from this little boy. His name was? Yuri?
Uchi.
Uchi?
Yeah, Yuchi, yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to hear from him to see what is his allure. How come he is so entertained?
We could do a story on Yushi, and we could put Uncle Richard and Yushi together. I think that would be a good story.
And understand so that other children can put into perspective why it's so fun. Because it can seem boring to a child.
Yeah.
But he certainly seemed to have a flair for it and to really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to understand why, because you can sell that to other children.
Yeah. He could be a good ambassador for this one.
How old was he?
I don't know.
like
How old is
12?
he?
10.
He's 10.
No, 11, sorry, P5. 11.
Very impressive 11-year-old boy. I'm very impressed. I can't imagine my son doing that.
Actually, he's the one who wasn't so keen in doing this project.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he was the one who actually took it more like, I see how, no lah, so he wasn't so... But I guess when we kind of like nudge him a little bit, you just have to encourage him, then he started to see a little bit more fun, that the elderly can be fun, because he actually thought that the elderly were boring. Yeah. So we say, try, it's okay, go and try talking first, because we realized communication was also a main problem. So one of the challenges was the communication between the youth and the elderly. A lot of our elderlies were either Chinese speaking or dialect speaking. Yeah. So our kids were mainly Muslim, Malays. Yeah. So there were communication. So they could only speak English to the elderly. So there was smattering broken English with Malay a little bit, in between. A little Chinese, that's how they communicate. Yeah.
Maybe charade.
Yeah, charades, a lot of gestures, hand, So that's why he did the hand like, just put your hand like that and you just follow him. Just do this like that or pose like that. So it wasn't so much of communication. It was just showing them how to do it. Yeah.
I mean, often we look at language as a barrier. Actually, it's also a gift. Without the language, actually people find other ways to connect. And sometimes, when they find other ways to connect, it's a connection at a deeper level. People resonate with the connection. So language should not be a barrier. The lack of a language should not be a barrier. So the other thing that we actually wanted to emphasize, which I didn't earlier in my presentation, is why is the generation gap a gift? It's a gift not because it's a gap, it's because whenever there's a gap, we ask people what they can bring. And we don't ask what they need, what they need, and somebody has to supply all the needs. Generally, there's a gap, and we ask people, what is it you can bring? And often they bring many gifts. So there's a gift of Uncle Richard, there's a gift of Yusi, even with the laughter that the old people are bringing, the little gesture like that, we consider all these little things are gifts. Because they enrich our lives. I mean, when you look at a picture, they're going like that, we smile a little bit. I mean, isn't that smile the same smile that you would get if you open a diamond ring? Yeah, I exaggerate, but I'm just getting the point across.
I just like to raise a question because just the other day my mother brought my 12-year-old
Yeah.
son to the temple. Just the two of them were walking like 10 minutes to Samelor, the Guan Yin Miao, the Goddess of Mercy temple. And then my mother was trying to make conversation with my son. And then my son just answers in like a few words. Not as bad as a monologue, but it's like he will only talk when my mom asks, then he'll just answer in a few words and that's it. There'll be silence for a while and then, so I'm just curious, because like language is not the barrier there. So, because they speak Chinese.
Well, if we see language as a barrier, I mean in
Yes,
terms
not
of
the
words,
barrier, so
what other type of languages can we use to connect? Yeah, so sometimes presence is more important than what's being said. Being there is more important than what's being said, actually. So I think being there and if they can't articulate that, then we have a role actually as peacemakers to articulate what is not being said. And as long as they don't object and it's a peaceful message, why not, right? That's what we do.
Because my son said he didn't know what to say to my mother.
Would you know what to say? How would you see the situation? I mean,
Yeah, I would say some things a bit more, but I suppose it's the connection. It's what we talk about when we lead such separate lives.
yeah. So you could appreciate that your son was willing to spend some amount of time from his personal time to be with your mother. And that's something we can appreciate, right? Not many teenagers would want to give that amount of time. And to repeat that to him, then he realizes I actually did good. Rather than I actually was tongue-tied or was awkward or whatever, I actually gave my time to my grandmother. And that is the message, and that is the gift. So the ability to appreciate and I guess to be very grateful for what's happening around us.
Yeah. So for that little bit, other than think that we never talk more, is it?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something. I think to impress on 12-year-olds to understand, like when grandma is talking to you, she just wants to connect with you. You know, she also doesn't know what to say to a 12-year-old, right? I mean, so she just having eaten, right? So sometimes I think I heard this story where this son complains about his father always telling him what's on the news every morning, and the son gets upset, right? Because he's also sitting there and listening to the news. But that's the only way the father knows how to start a conversation with the son. So to even let your son know that even grandma actually doesn't know what else to ask you, because your world is very different, but she is getting to know you. So maybe you could ask her some questions as well. You know, you could actually try and make an effort to get to know her as well, or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Which reminds me, actually, each week we write a short note of gratitude to all our friends. Gratitude for the work that has happened a week. We call it Another Week Beyond. It's a little story about what we have done. So if you do not object within 3 days, we're going to put you on our mailing list. So this is warning, I just want you all to know, because now with all the laws and the regulations with the Personal Data Protection Act, I can't just put your name on it. But if you do receive and you do change your mind, there's an unsubscribe button, just press it and I won't be offended.
Do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
May I ask, are you happy with the outcome of of this project?
Yeah,
Was
I
it
would
what
say
you
so.
expected, or was it even better than you expected?
I think a lot more can actually have happened, but what we often imagine to be a successful outcome, very often we don't quite get there. So for us, we need to have the ability to appreciate what has actually happened. And when I look at what has actually happened, like today, I see the young person, the older person coming to me and thanking me for the book. I mean, that's quite a special experience because it meant a lot to them. You know, when we look at the book, I'm sure when Susie, Joanne, and I look at the book, especially Susie, when she's putting it together, at some point she'll look at it and say, this is a darn piece of work I have to finish because there are deadlines to meet and all. But at that point when you actually hand over, it's not a piece of work, it was really a gift. And that is something that's so special for us. I mean, yeah, so I think it's having the ability to appreciate this little moments actually keeps us going, and keeps us in a position of gratitude. And your question was an important question to remind us that we should be grateful for this. So it was a good project. Thank you. Thank you.
Forward, right?
Yeah, it was really a good project. Thank you very much.
Wonderful what you did.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, maybe you could share with us, because for those of us who are maybe looking at doing something within our own community, or maybe your own condo, or your own, your own area, your own school, your own office, right? What are some of the thought processes that, that you went through to think about? What program might work? I know this is a really hard question.
No, it's not. That's only one word to it, is to appreciate the people around us. I mean, what else is there? What else really is there? Because it's very easy for us to just criticize or be unsatisfied with a lot of what's going on around us. So what else is there except to try to appreciate, take a more look at it as something good that's happening and try and discover what that is. And often people are more likely to follow. I think if I went to someone and I say, what's the problem with you? I think the conversation tends to... But if I went there and say, I think you did something really good, I can't really understand the other part of it, but this part was really good. And it goes on, and we can build. We can only build on good, we can't really build on bad. Yeah, so at least this is our personal belief, and this is the belief of this organization, that our work is really about peacemaking. Yeah.
So how what advice would you give to each person here, that if we want to be a better peacemaker wherever we are, in our jobs, in our homes, in our lives, in our families, whether with extended families or your nuclear families?
That's what Shireen Foster program says, perspective.
What?
One word, perspective. Change our perspective, have a more appreciative perspective. That's what you guys are advocating, and that's why we resonate deeply with the program.
So try to always put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
Don't always see it from your perspective that I'm correct, I'm always correct. But always try to see.
Yeah, open yourself to different perspectives, and after a while, maybe my own perspective is not so important anymore.
Very good. So I hope we can all go back and be peacemakers.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Use your handphone. No.
Otherwise, I think it just leaves me to say thank you.
No, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for all coming. Thank you, Gerard.
No, thank you. I thought you should have one as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's
thank
really
you
kind
very
of you.
much. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for coming.
Yes.
And we'll see you at the next Shireen Foster event, which will be 14 September. Yes? Right?
Please hang around. There's a lot of refreshments outside as well.